Hi everyone, and welcome to episode number 3 of Inside the Junior Reign, where we believe that together we can make youth hockey a life-changing experience. My name is Ben Frank, I'm your club president, and I'm joined here each and every week by our Chief of Hockey Operations, Paul Esdale. And today we're going to be sharing a powerful story of Paul's powerful story through his journey with the great sport of ice hockey as a youth player, professional player, as a coach, and how that's impacted his life and how that can impact the journey of the kids and families in our program and also hopefully outside of our program. Stories are a great way to connect with and understand and learn. And what we hope, the reason we do what we do is we hope that our experiences and things that we've gained through hockey, we can give that back and help show the kids coming up some things that they can learn and benefit from as well through hockey. So before we get into that, as always, whether you're we are doing the show Mondays during the day, so whether you're watching us live or on the replay, we really appreciate you interacting with us. We love the likes, the shares. Comment in, let us know you're watching. Say, hey, thumbs up, or hi, hey guys. Let us know that you've watched. We really appreciate that. Share it if you like the episode. We're happy that this episode gets shared way beyond our Junior Reign families. I think we had over almost 2,000 views on our first episode. So we love that if it can bring value to other people, maybe even in other states or countries. We really appreciate that as well. And as always, enter in your questions, and then we'll try to bring those questions to our show each week, and answer your questions in the comments or pick one of your questions and feature it live on the show. So please interact with us. We really appreciate everyone that's been doing that. It's been really enjoyable for us. So the way we're going to start off today's show, just a bridge here. Last show we talked about the announcement of the Declaration of Principles from the NHL, USA Hockey, Hockey Canada, a ton of major hockey organizations. Declaration of Principles of what hockey is. This is hockey. Thank you, hockey, and all the amazing impact it can have on people's lives beyond the game. And we started to share how that connects with our club's mission and vision for what we want to do and why we're here, and also down to the personal stories of our staff and our players and our families. So what we're going to do to start today is Paul has a really powerful story to share with us from his upbringing. We put it on the Facebook page, and we're going to have Paul read his story, and then I'm going to dig in and really get him to expose us some of the great things and the challenging things that's happened throughout his hockey career, because I know that journey and that story we know will really help our youth coming up. So Paul, I'll kick it over to you to share your story with us. And I just want to say I really appreciate, Paul, that you're willing to be vulnerable and share some of the painful things and positive things from your youth hockey journey. It's easy to say, like, hey, I played pro hockey and I'm this awesome hockey superstar. Maybe it's a little bit harder to talk about some of the painful moments from your youth.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. And I think that's part of why I want to share it, is because everyone looks at the finished product and not actually how you got there. And I think that's the critical thing in the vehicle we have here in the platform is understanding the process, right? We talk about that in the journey, and I think that's why I wrote this, and it inspired me, the Declaration of Principles, and it's inspired me to share more with people about it and hopefully give some value back to people. So I'm going to start here. So at 16 years old, I was in the front seat of my dad's car in Edmonton, Alberta, and I was in tears. See, I was just cut from my midget hockey team, and I was wondering to myself, like, why is this happening to me? Why did this happen? And you see, I didn't understand, because I thought I deserved to be there. I was a good hockey player. I worked hard, and my dad was a career coach. I had all these things, and hockey was my life. And this midget coach told me I was no good, or I wasn't good enough for this team. And I was so disappointed. I was disappointed in myself. I thought I was disappointing other people. I was wondering, what my dad thought of me, what other people. I was always concerned with everyone else and their thoughts, and I felt I wasn't good. And it was this one coach that told me I was too small to play. And it wasn't only that I was cut from the team, it was how they did it. So I want to read this to you. So the quote was, and I remember this for the rest of my life, was,
you're 16.
16 years old, just cut from my midget team. All my friends made that team. Right?
All the friends that you played on the same team as the
year before.
And did you have a successful season the year before?
I was coming off being the top scoring defenseman in Bantam AAA.
In the whole league.
In the whole league.
Yeah.
So, and the coach said to me, the head coach of the midget AAA team said, "You're too small. You'll never play a high level of hockey." Right? And those were powerful. And I remember talking to my dad in the car about that in tears, and I didn't understand what I was experiencing. And I talked to him about, I don't remember exactly what the topic was, what we talked about in that car, but he made me realize that one person's opinion wasn't going to define me and wasn't going to end my story in hockey. So those things I'll always remember. And in the piece I wrote, I talked actually about thanking the coach for this. Yeah. So I'm going to read a little bit to you. So it says, "Thank you, coach. Thank you for cutting me and telling me I was too small and I would never make it. These words forever changed my life and taught me so much. This is the reason why I really believe I did make it. I made it in hockey. It inspired me to prove the coach wrong. It inspired me to play college hockey, graduate from Brown University. It inspired me to play 6 years of professional, and it inspired me to get into coaching. It inspires me still today to give back, to make impact, and make sure I give my all every day to impact kids in our organization and beyond. Thank you to hockey. Thank you for teaching me life lessons of hard work, perseverance, grit, teamwork, integrity, humility, honesty, perspective, gratitude, accountability, and so much more. Through the ups and downs, the wins and losses, the successes and failures, I'm thankful that I've been part of this great game. It's not a right, but a privilege. Remember, I was in that car in tears at 16, 5 seconds away from quitting hockey. I was this close because of one person's opinion on my ability. Thankfully, with the guidance of my dad, the belief in myself from my support system, it made me pick myself up and it inspired me to make a change and follow my dreams of proving this one coach wrong, and that's changed my life forever. And it's been able to give back to the game and all the people that I've had in contact, and it's changed my life.
And Paul, tell the viewers, obviously we've known each other for
Sure.
a while, and I know more about your background, but what are some of the experiences, because you made that decision, I'm going to come back to this a couple times, because you made that decision to stick with it,
Yeah.
What were some of the things that came from that later down, from immediately, but also down the road in your hockey career?
I think the first one is struggle, pain. You know what I mean? It wasn't easy, right? And that's what everyone, like we talked at the start, is everyone thinks it's the finished product. Oh, you played professional hockey, played college hockey. And those are all great dreams and goals, and I know a lot of parents have those dreams and goals, but the road to get there is bumpy. And I think that's why I want to talk about it. And it really starts when I first started hockey and my love for hockey. You know, my dad was a career coach for 25 years, coached all over North America, junior, college. And, you know, I started skating when I was 2 years old. I had the little double runners on my skates. And, you know, every day he'd come home from work and I'd have my helmet on and I'd go, hockey dad, hockey dad, hockey dad. And he would play with hockey with me either in the basement or outside. And I grew up with, you know, going to the outdoor rink every day. My dad out there in the freezing -30 weather in Edmonton, flooding the backyard, making our own rink as well. And it was that where it all began was my love for the game. And he provided the opportunities, but he never forced me. Yeah. And he provided that platform and those experiences if I wanted to take them. And that love of the game was what got me to
And
here.
that's why it was so painful, right? Because hockey was, like you said, who you are, was a part of your identity. Yeah. And here you are from something that is your life. You feel you connect with your dad on it as you're still a kid, 16. Yeah. It's who you are. You're dreaming of playing pro. You're dreaming of college hockey, junior hockey, and then all of a sudden, you're considering quitting. And then then who are you at that point?
Right, and that's the risky thing about letting sport define your character instead of who you are should be defining. You know, not what you do, but who you are should define you.
You're tough, and that you're hardworking, and that you're passionate, right? These things, but you were those things through hockey, but you didn't necessarily at the moment maybe realize that. Tell us about, just before I come back to it. So, if I would have told you back then, in that moment, that you would go on to play 4 years at Brown University, graduate from Brown, be an all-star defenseman at Brown, play professionally for 6 years, like I said, do you think that you would have been able to comprehend that in that moment?
Well, no, I was going to quit hockey, and I was actually going to play tennis. So I was a multi-sport athlete, and I was this close. It was early September during the hockey season, and I was going to quit hockey and take up tennis. And through that conversation in the car, and I don't remember exactly what it was. I talked to my dad the other day about exactly what it was, but it was just the realization that it doesn't have to be the end of the road for you. Everyone's path is different. Yeah. And all these paths are going to be bumpy, and there's going to be things that we have to persevere from. And that was understanding that not everything's going to be perfect in hockey and in life was what I needed. And it's hard when you're 12, 13, 14, 16, whatever it is. But we need to continue to do that. So,
have you ever gone through in your head what your life might look like if you had quit in that moment?
Yeah, that's an interesting thing, right? I think my dad and my mom instilled in me that hard work and perseverance was critical. And but geez, I've been able to go to Ivy League school and graduate with an economics degree. I've been able to travel the world, live in different cultures. I've been able to inspire and give back to young kids, which is really what I've really come to understand. That's my purpose and my mission is giving back to kids and giving them a great experience. So I guess I don't think about it now because I learned that nothing's going to be easy and nothing's going to be given, and that's the giant life lesson of all this is that perseverance. You can fight through anything if you're willing to work for it, and I think that's what was instilled in me with these challenges.
And the interesting thing is, so this is one particular maybe a key turning point in your story, in your journey. Yep. I'm sure there was stuff before that, and I know there's stuff after that. So tell our viewers, because ultimately all players, no matter if they're the most talented, they're the biggest, the smallest, the strongest, the fastest, the weakest, right now, they're going to go through some of these ups and downs regardless, right? Whether it's injury, a coach, a level, a team not winning, a team winning, all these things. Was that the end of your struggles? Was that the end of your challenges?
So that was about September of that year when I was 16, and January there was another obstacle. So I ended up, what happened was I ended up, through my dad's connections, I ended up getting to practice with the junior hockey team.
So you weren't playing any games?
So and the story is that I said, you know what? I'm going to just continue to practice with this junior team. I drove 45 minutes every day to go practice with this team, and I was going to play tennis, and that was the solution. At that point, there wasn't another midget team because of the districts. I wasn't able to go anywhere else because of all the league rules. Yeah. So this is the choice I had to make. So what happened was that I stayed with it. I practiced with that team, and then I ended up they had a bunch of injuries, and I ended up playing 15 games. And then January 10th came, and they had to decide on who they're going to keep on the roster. And I thought I deserved to be there after playing 15 games and actually having some success. And then once again, I was cut. So it happened in January. Yeah. And I was able, because of the relationship my dad had with the coach, he actually coached the coach named Gord Thibodeau back when my dad coached at the university. But that was a tough decision, I'm sure, for Gord. I ended up staying on the team and just practicing the rest of the year. So I only ended up playing 15 games that year and traveled every day, an hour, 45 minutes there, 45 minutes back, just to be able to practice. So once again, that was another obstacle where I thought I had a bad situation, found a better situation. Now I'm saying, well, you're not quite good enough yet. And that was another thing I had to face again.
What were some of the and you said you talked to your dad recently about this. What were some of the things with maybe his approach with you that allowed you to, so you had this first obstacle and you were able to, you kept going. You had another one in that same year, so it's cut twice in the same year. Maybe it was, I don't know if it was easier or harder at that point because it happened again to deal with. What were some of the things that you think with the way that his approach was with you that allowed you to get through that?
Well, I think the interesting thing is my dad coached in the area, right, and was a university coach, and sometimes you feel like that's going to be leverage for you and be able to help you. You got all these connections, right? And sometimes that works, but other times, as you can see, that I got cut, I got opportunity, I got cut, it didn't help at all, right? And I think it was that what made me keep going was coming back to, well, do you love hockey? Yeah. And the answer through all these ups and downs was yes. Okay, so what are you going to do about it? How are you going to get better? How are you going to get to a point where they can't say you're not good enough or you're not on the team? And that's what that inspired me, and that that still drives me today.
So what I'm hearing you say, I hear you say is that you took the responsibility away from other people over your hockey career. Not, is my dad going to help me get there?
Yeah.
Is this coach going to take me? Is this someone going to give me an opportunity? And you actually turned it as a 16-year-old, which is a pretty paramount moment in your life to say. Some point through that process, maybe the first time you got cut, the second time you got cut, some point there you decided, I'm going to take responsibility over this, over my hockey career. It's going to be up to me whether I make it on. What am I going to do? How am I going to get better? And it's going to be on me.
Right, ownership. Right, I think that's what it is. It's taking ownership of my development and knowing that if I have a dream and I have a goal, and at that time my goal was to play college hockey, play professional hockey. Well, no one's going to do it for you except you. And it was looking in the mirror every day and saying, "Hey, do you really want this?" And I knew I had to do it. No one else was. My dad's connections weren't going to help me.
Yeah.
Being 5'9", 160 pounds wasn't going to help me. But what can I do to make I knew I couldn't change my size. I could get stronger. I can work harder than everyone else. I can compete harder than anyone else. I can have the best skills. I can be smarter than everyone else. All these things that I knew I could
control. The things that you could control.
Totally, and that was what my dad helped me understand, that it was on me, and I could sit here and blame everyone else for where my situation is, but having the awareness, the self-awareness of, hey, you have a dream, we'll go get it, and knowing, let's start and build and go through that process and earn it. It was critical.
And then let's take through some of the next steps then. So
Sure.
then you end up moving on to play junior hockey.
Yep.
Tell us maybe some other challenging points, whether it was through junior, going and playing college hockey, and then moving on from there to pro. I'm sure there was this the theme that right. Any player that's played it, it's anything in life. Anyone that's made it to a certain level in life has gone through these moments, right, where other people have quit and others have kept going.
Yeah. So the next year, when I started, I was on a team called Sherwood Park Crusaders, and it was actually with the same coach that brought me in the year before. So it was a good setup. Everything was going great. We were doing well as a team. I was having a good rookie season. Halfway through, coach gets fired right away. The guy that brought me in, the guy that that believed in me for what I brought to a team, fired right away.
Small defenseman.
Yeah, small defenseman. So fired, ownership change. Then I got traded. Just like that. Junior hockey.
How old were you at this point?
I was 17.
17.
So right the next year.
Yeah.
So I was traded. I went to another team. It was a different situation where the coaches didn't really understand what type of player I was and how effective I could be. And I was behind a couple other guys. My type of play was I was more of a power play defenseman, offensive defenseman. And I'm playing against guys that are 6'2", 230 pounds, trying to take your head off. And I'm a 5'9", 160 pound skilled defenseman. And that brings me back to my, youth hockey when, everyone was trying to change me into a forward. Yeah. And I faced that obstacle all the time. And one of the great things my dad did was he knew at that age, when I was younger, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, the position didn't matter. What mattered was the ice time. And at how that setup was when I grew up in Edmonton was there was always more forwards. Yeah. And no one wanted to play defense. Yeah. So he always told me, hey, play D, play D, play D. And I got that extra ice time in games, that extra experience.
There wasn't model associations with limited roster sizes and equal playing time, right? It was 3 or 4 lines of forwards, right. And then exactly.
So I that was a great, that's one of those lessons that sometimes I take for granted but him putting me at defense, I was able to develop and see the whole game, but I was going to get to that critical ice time. And sure, it was challenges when I got older, right? Because who wants a 5'9"?
And it's different times too. There was, if you were under 6 foot as a defenseman, yeah. I mean, to play a high level was
it was unheard of, right? Yeah. It was unheard of at this. It's changed a little bit now. But I was traded from that one team, and then I went to another team, got traded again, and then got traded again, and then finally landed on my 19-year-old year. After playing 3 years of junior hockey, back on
and having to go to different, probably further from home and things like that.
So I moved away, a couple hours away from home, lived with the billet family. One billet family weren't feeding me,
Trying to reconnect. Okay, you're back.
We had some technical difficulties. We're back.
Yeah. So I had to change billet families. I wasn't getting fed properly. My mom was a mess because of that. I was away from home at 17, 18 years old. Had to work through that. Mm-hmm. And then finally, my 19-year-old year, I got back on another team, Lloydminster Blazers, with my original coach. He traded from me again, Gore Thibault. He got a new job, and that year, after 3.5 years of playing junior, I ended up being the top scoring defenseman in the league. After I went on multiple teams where it didn't fit, didn't work out, I was cut, all these things, and man, if I didn't have that love for the game, it would have been really easy to quit.
Yeah.
Right. And that was just junior hockey.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. And how often we see that we know the sad stat about 3 to 4 kids quit sports altogether, not just hockey, quit sports altogether by the time they're in high school.
Yeah.
And because it's not fun, pressure from adults, playing time, these are all the things that we hear. And some of these things, from an organizational perspective, we can control. We can create an environment, being in the U.S. Hockey Model Association with playing time and roster sizes and some of these things in the approach with kids. But a lot of it comes down to, like you talked about, having that love for the game internally and having control of the individual, that no matter what the obstacles are, that you keep going. Because like you said, it could have been how many different times could you have quit just in that period? And then you could have just been a kid who played hockey semi-high level at some point, and that's it. And it worked somewhere else.
And that's the thing. I should have quit hockey.
With what happened to you.
Totally.
So how many kids does that happen to? Right?
A ton, right? I should have quit hockey, and I never should have went to Brown University, right? And that's the thing, and that's what changed my life, is going through all these experiences of the adversity, the ups and downs, the heartaches, and being able to persevere and take ownership of that and have guidance from your family is what developed me and made me be able to play college hockey and play pro hockey and achieve my dreams.
So then you get to Brown. So first of all, do you think without hockey would you have gone to Brown University? I know you're a smart guy. But without hockey,
so I was a very average student, and I worked hard at it. But
you were playing junior hocky also.
But I was also playing junior hockey, and also I didn't like school.
Yeah.
Right. It wasn't fun, and I no question I failed a couple classes, but I was a very average student. And definitely without hockey, there was no way I would have been able to go to an Ivy League school.
And then you get so average student, maybe who doesn't really enjoy school that much,
for sure.
Finally has a breakout year in hockey, so things are looking good.
Yep.
You get into Brown for hockey, which is Division I school, Ivy League, amazing moment to get into Brown.
Yep.
You decide to take business economics, I think it is. So this big accomplishment. But now you're in Brown playing college hockey, which is practice every day at the rink, a couple hours a day, plus other working out, all these other things. And now you have to take on the Brown course load as well as an average student and be a hockey player. I can't imagine that was easy for you either.
Yeah, I had no clue. Right? I had no clue. I was coming from Western Canada to the East Coast of the U.S., right?
Yeah.
Providence, Rhode Island, right near Boston. So it was a totally different culture. And the schooling was like beyond anything I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And, I had to ask for help, right? And that's something I learned right away, was that I needed help, especially, in the schooling side of things. And I had to get tutors, and I had to figure out what classes I should take, what I shouldn't take. How do I get through this thing?
Yeah.
And so, because I knew I wanted to play hockey, and if I didn't take care of my studies, I wasn't going to be able to play hockey. So it was asking those questions, finding the right people to tag along with, to guide me, and then that was one side of it, and the other side of it was the hockey thing. So in college, they don't just
you have to perform too, right?
Well, yeah, they don't just recruit 18 players and everyone plays in equal playing time. We had 28 guys on the roster.
28, yeah.
So
how many guys dressed? 20?
Yeah, 20. So every day you're competing for your job, and especially as a freshman, coming in right away, I was it probably started as 8th to 10th on the depth chart of defensemen, and only 6 play.
Yeah. So again, you have this great year, right? Now you get into school. Okay, you've made it. You go into school. You show up. Now you're not even in the lineup.
Yep.
You have to perform on the ice every day, compete, outwork other guys in practice, show that you deserve to be there, make sure you're able to stay on the team in the first place, then also try to get in the lineup because hockey's your passion.
Yep.
Throw on top of it this course load that if you don't do well enough in school, you're off the hockey team, or you're ineligible, you flunk out of school, you got to go home, all this stuff, right? And you got to figure all this out. And so now all these are new challenges. So this is not, you made it to the next level, but it's not now easier. It's maybe even harder.
Yeah, no, and that's the beauty of hockey, right? It gets harder. And I knew I could bring a unique skill set to the team. I knew I was recruited there because they needed someone to run the power play. They didn't have any offensive defensemen. But, okay, I could do that in junior hockey as a 19-year-old, but now can I do that at the Division I college level?
Sure.
And I knew I had to work as hard as possible. I had to outwork everyone. I had to compete every day in practice. I had to be a pain in the butt again, and compete against guys and make them and earn a spot and make them say, you're not good enough. And I was lucky enough that I was able to play right away as a freshman and establish myself as one of the top 6 defensemen. And the challenges still there were that we went 2 years and we had losing teams 2 years in a row. We won 2 games, 3 games, 4 games each year, and it was really challenging because we weren't a good college hockey team. So that added a whole nother ball of wax onto these challenges.
Yeah. And so let's fast forward towards the end of the career.
Sure.
You work through this all. You're able to get your studies on track. Yeah. You're able to be a key player on the team, a top player on the team. Yeah. Take us through kind of towards the end, and the team I think started doing better as well, and then that next transition after that too.
Sure, yeah. We started as first couple of years really hard times and won only a few games, and by my 3rd and 4th year we ended up being a playoff team. Lost in the semifinals to Cornell in our final year. I was named as an All ECAC, which was the Eastern Collegiate Athletic Conference. Defenseman, I was named as an All Ivy player, so saying my GPA was above a certain number to be recognized as that. So I hit the pinnacle of that as being, and I was the top scoring defenseman on the team. I was top scoring defenseman, top 5 in the league, and that was all great, and we had a great season. But then you're still managing your studies. Yeah. I got to get these courses to graduate now. And then the next step was looking at, well, what am I going to do next with my life?
Yeah. And so you graduated.
Yeah.
And you had the opportunity to play some pro right away, right? Right in the AHL, right? Which is one of the highest levels, which were the Reign, the league, the Reign is right. A lot of guys on NHL contracts and things right under the NHL. So tell us about that.
Yeah. So I was lucky enough to sign a amateur tryout agreement with Cincinnati Mighty Ducks.
So the
Ducks organization back then, and I played 5 games with the American Hockey League team while I was still at college. So I took off 2 weeks of college to go play 5 games in Cincinnati. Yeah. Had to manage my studies and still make sure I graduate. Did that, came back, and then I started to train again during the summer, and then it was trying to find a pro contract because I know I still wanted to play and continue on, and that's another more challenges there to find a spot in the pro levels.
Tell us just for the last couple of minutes we have to tell our viewers a little bit about that journey now into the pro hockey. So you right away you go into one of the highest levels in the game. That again, no guarantees after that. There's Europe, there's different professional leagues in the United States and Canada, and there's finding an agent, I imagine, and all this stuff. So just tell us a little bit in your overview.
Yeah, so I had an agent, and he was working for me, trying to help me find different teams and stuff. And initially, when you come from being a top scoring defenseman in college and then playing some games in the American Hockey League, you think, well, this is easy. I'm going to be an American League hockey player, and that's my career, right? Yeah. Not even close, right? So I signed an agreement with the Florida Everblades and the East Coast Hockey League, a 2-way agreement with the Florida Everblades and the Lowell Lock Monsters American League.
The American League.
But it was one of those things where I was already assigned to Florida before I went to camp for 5 minutes.
You thought you were going to get a chance to play at the AHL.
Of course, right? And now junior hockey is a real big business. Now pro is even another step up where it's you're just a number, and there's contracts now. There's all the trickle down effect
based on who's on what contract, who gets
totally right. So and it's not all done by merit there, unfortunately, right? So I ended up playing. In the East Coast Hockey League, bounced around, went to the Central Hockey League, had a real big year in Wichita. I was the top scoring defenseman in that league. I got as a small defenseman, I got hurt a lot. I got hit from behind. I got bruised up. I got targeted.
If anyone's seen Slapshot before,
it was basically like that. And there's some crazy YouTube videos of me trying to survive out there.
Getting chased around by some crazy guys.
And I have I had concussions. I have permanent issues with my neck and my back because of this. Because of all those injuries, I went over to Europe and played there for a couple of years in Denmark, Sweden, and Germany. Different style of game, and enjoyed that. But there's challenges to that with the culture, integrating with the coaches, philosophy, all these different stuff like that.
So now you're going over by yourself to another country, not a main city or whatever, a small town, probably not a lot of English speaking, don't know anyone, different style of game. Coaches probably don't speak as much English even, and dealing with all that, right?
Yeah, and those are all those challenges. I ended up going through it for about 6 years, playing in North America and Europe, and then coming to a point where I knew I hit a point at my age where I knew I had to move on, and I knew I wanted to get into coaching, and just trying to figure out how I could do that, right? So basically and I think I've told you this story, was I knew, my dad was retired and his connections weren't really going to work, and so basically what I did was I emailed my resume and a cover letter and an introductory email to every person in hockey. So every junior team, every pro team, every college team, think of the league.
Yeah.
I emailed them my resume that I was looking to get into coaching, and out of those 600 I think it was about 600, I maybe got 20 responses. Yeah. Right, that's just how it is. That's the percentages, and luckily enough, how hockey is with timing sometimes. A guy named Nolan Graham, who went to RPI that I played against, was coaching junior hockey in the BCHL, and he just lost his assistant, went to college, and he was looking for a guy. It was September, and I was able to hop in and start as assistant coach, assistant general manager in the BCHL, which is one of the top leagues in Canada for junior hockey, and it was a lot of luck. But behind that story was those 600 emails. I sent those out, not my dad. I did that every day because I knew that's my passion and what I want to get into.
So this is the thing I think that's a key connection for people. A lot of people see, so they might see on our website, Paul played professional hockey. Paul went to Brown. Paul was a coach. So that ended up, you ended up becoming a head coach in the BCHL. So that's the top junior league in Canada. Tons of players go on to play NCAA Division I, professional hockey, NHL, etc., etc. They might see that. What they don't see is all the stuff we just shared about the cut, traded, lied to, told can't make it, and then all that stuff that we talked about. It's not a coincidence that all that stuff that you did kept working at it, kept getting better, kept competing as a hockey player. Now, when you make that shift in life, you say, okay, maybe my playing career is done, and I'm going to transition in my life to another place. Number one, you still have the love for hockey, so you want to be involved with hockey. You know what you want to do, you know what you're passionate about. But look at the approach, right? 600 emails, willing to do anything, get your foot in the door, 20 responses. Maybe of those 20 responses, you probably went through a process with each of them, trying to get it. How many people said no? How many people didn't give you a chance? Get a chance as an assistant coach. I don't even want to know how much that paid. Probably a few $100 a month or something. You're trying to figure that out now. And then through that to become a head coach, right, in a junior league, riding the bus and trying to start a family and all these things, right? So I think we could go on and on, but I think the key connection here again is this is what we talk about with hockey, with what we can get out of hockey. Without those lessons you learn in hockey, the approach, and I know that the approach you had with this job.
Yes. Well, I got here because I was fired.
Yeah, right. And again, though, the effort you put into turning all stones, to put yourself out there, to not worry about being rejected, to not worry about failure, to not worry about someone telling you no, to all these things, to find the best situation for you to believe in yourself. Right? How can you imagine that you'd have any of those things without experiences you've had in hockey?
Right, and I think that's the message, right? So when I'm coaching now and giving back to kids, and we have a tough game or a kid fails at something, it's it's easy for me to keep the perspective of, hey, let's pick ourselves up, get back at it, keep working. I believe in you, believe in yourself. Your parents believe in you. All these things that in the end we know if you work as hard as you can and you have belief and you have that support system, you can take it to wherever you want to take it, and that's the message, and that's important.
Regardless of what the outcome is, regardless of what other people do or say, that if you don't quit and you keep at it, you can.
Yeah, and not everyone going to have the physical capacities of playing the National Hockey League or even play college hockey, right? But what can the game give to you? What can it give back, and what can it teach you? And I think I'm a testament of, man, the game taught me a lot, and without hockey, I wouldn't be here today, but I wouldn't be the same person. I wouldn't have learned and developed this character and that grit and that perseverance and those life lessons I talked about before.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Paul. We went about 4 minutes over today. I think we could probably go another hour or two. But thank you for sharing that, Paul. Thank you for being willing to share your failure and your success and what you went through and be vulnerable and personal with that. And as always, if this story resonated with you, please share, like, comment, give us your questions, give us your feedback, and stay tuned for each and every Monday at 2 p.m. Whether you're watching the live or the replay, we love your interaction and your comments. And thank you for helping us with our mission of being together all stakeholders, coaches, parents, players, family members, administrators, rink owners, hockey community, that we can make youth hockey a life-changing experience. Thank you. We'll see you next week.